Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, as we explain about the whole nature of how the CBT mode in terms of thought, emotion and feeling cycle within the framework of cognitive behavior therapy, now I'm going to explain to you how within positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, how actually our feelings, emotion and thought cycle begin. So if we want to understand that, we have to understand the very nature of where thoughts come from, where these automatic thoughts come from. From the Islamic perspective, there are many ideas, but from the writing of all our scholars, great scholars, the human self, the total past learning history of ourself, whether it's on our inner speech, that means inner speech is our thoughts, our inner thoughts, automatic thoughts, and both conscious and subconscious. So our thoughts can be the conscious thoughts that we are communicating with one another as it is now, or the unconscious thoughts that pop into our mind. All right, those automatic thoughts, 50 to 70,000 of those thoughts that pop into our head without our control. So where does this come from? So from the writing of our scholars, Imam Ghazali, Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Maskiyah, Tabrani and so on, so many of them, they have collated this whole idea. I'm just summarizing it. That means if you read their books, you can find they have written voluminous volumes of this nature, but I'm just summarizing their work so that we can understand that our existence is basically beyond the physical realm of existence. So when we talk about ourself, our human self, we have the spiritual, emotional and mental self, and influences on our inner speech, our both conscious and conscious thoughts and automatic thoughts come from two sources, the internal sources and the external sources. So the internal sources can be ranging from the physical realm, the jasad range, all the way to the realm of Allah. So in Islam, within our theology, we have most important is, for example, divine revelation to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wahyu. If not for Wahyu, we don't have the Quran. So the Quran is a divine revelation to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give us the nature of understanding Allah, the nature of understanding ourselves as His Khalifa on this earth, and the nature of understanding this universe, the nature of living this life, the nature of life before, life in this world, and life after. So those are wahyu. So it doesn't come just pop into the head of, for example, our whole Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is from the divine realm. Allah give this information through the agency of Jibril alaihi salam. That means there is an agency called, we call it the angel, all right, the angelic being. What is it and how is it and so on. Those we can discuss, all right. But basically, through this agency, Allah gives His revelation to guide mankind towards truth, towards haq, towards happiness, towards success. So then we have divine inspiration, inner speech. This is ilham. That means each and every one of us, we have very, very good thoughts. Suddenly we have a click, watch wonderful thoughts. And most discovery actually come from ilham. So prophetic wahyu only to prophets, but ilham is to every human being. Ilham or inspiration to do good, inspiration to discover a place. From this is coming from the intuitive self, nafs, and also from the realm of Allah, from the realm in which He has created, in which we do not actually know where it comes from, but we know that basically this is the intuitive idea that is put into our conscious and subconscious mind, and then we have this so-called Eureka event. Yeah, we have this, okay? Or we are driven to one good deeds in our life. And this happened. You can read all over history that the discovery of this world comes from all these things. All right? Then we have divine knowledge of Allah, in which Allah gives us divine knowledge. Then we have this believer inner speech. This inner speech coming from our spiritual self, this intuitive self. Then we have spiritual vision, contemplation, reflection, meditation, and remembrance of God. So all these things are the internal sources. So these are good suggestions or angelic influences. And then from here, receiving divine guidance. For example, positive suggestion from the spiritual realm, divine suggestion on realizing, on doing good. So these are the good aspect. So these are thoughts that bring us towards Allah. Then we have thoughts that bring us away from Allah. External sources influence, example, external senses of sight, hearing, smelling, and touch. So, for example, they have excessive indulgence of the physical and material world. That means, for example, if you look at the material scholars, they only say this is the physical world and nothing more. There's nothing spiritual. There's nothing. There's no God. So everything that is atheistic, their worldview just comes that, and that is actually an evil. So then they will have this evil suggestion and influences. So these evil suggestion and influences manifested in greed of the worldly material things. So you can see, for example, those super rich, and they're getting richer and richer. They think that this world is everything that they have. All right, even though it's not even one atom size in the reality of this physical existence, yet they are so greedy about this physical thing. So greed, excessive appetite, excessive sexual desire, evil prompting self. That's been the nafsul ammara from the satanic, because this evil suggestion influences coming from the realm of Satan. All right, excessive worry, psychological disorder, waswas, and so on. So you see there's two opposing forces. All right, so both will then shape our inner speech. So how are we going to shape this inner speech so that it becomes more positive and less negative, so that we can lead a life of iman, a life of success, a life within the grace of Allah? Or we go to the other round, the realm where evil, we are drawn by the evil of this world, drawn by the evil of the whispering or waswasa that comes into our thoughts, and then we become the slaves of evil. All right, so these two areas is very important for us to understand. And most important is when we look at this, the sum total of influences, these are influences. So our thoughts is not us. You must remember that our thoughts is not us. Even though some of it come from the realm in which we are given, that means from our physical environment and intra and social and interpersonal environment. For example, our past, our upbringing, our trauma, our difficulties, those are part and parcel of us. Yes, it is not, we cannot deny that. And that also will form part of our thoughts. But if we understand that thoughts as thoughts, that from the perspective of the scholarship of Islam, there is no sin. Even the evil thoughts, if you don't manifest the evil thoughts, that means they pop into your mind, an evil thought. All right? And this has happened during the time of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are many issues in which the Prophet brought about, and then some of those things that were discussed were very, very psychological. For example, there's one young man, a Sahaba, who came to the Prophet and says that he has these feelings that he wants to commit zina. That means he wants to have illicit sex. So what does the Prophet say? The Sahabis were all shocked. I mean, how can this guy bring such an idea? But they were shocked. But the Prophet gently advised him. You know, that means how to actually overcome these thoughts, these evil thoughts of committing zina, committing illicit sexual intercourse. So he says, would you like that, you know, if I tell you that somebody has sex with your mother? He says, no, I will only accept it. Then the Prophet says, would you like then somebody will have sex, illicit sex with your sister? No, I will not have it. Or would you like somebody has illicit sex with your daughter? So from then on, gently, Rasulullah brought him to remove this satanic or evil thoughts, this evil prompting self, back towards the nature of goodness. So you can see that thoughts happen. So you do not be one. Know that thoughts are thoughts that come by to you. As long as you do not manifest it, you do not take action to do those evil things, it is not a sin. So this is generally the understanding of all the great scholars, the theological scholars in Islam. You open whether the four Imams, or you go through the whole writings of the Sahabas and Tabi'in and so on, you can see this has been resolved long time ago. So we should not be overwhelmed by negative thoughts. Yes, these negative thoughts will come about to play, because this is part and parcel of life. We have both positive and negative. You cannot run away from it. So what we need to do is to mold, shape this, in psychology, the shaping process of how we can mold ourselves towards the positive and reduce the negative. So as we develop iman, we develop the strength of iman ainul yaqeen, iman ilmul yaqeen, iman haqqul yaqeen, then the interplay of this negative inner thoughts will get less and less and less and less and less. But it cannot be completely eliminated. This is the nature of our existence. So once we know that, then we are not stressed out. If we have these evil thoughts of doing the thing that I was explaining to you, like the sahabis that was explained by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are exposed to all kind of sexual ideas now. You go to everywhere, the billboard, you have almost naked women now. You go to the internet, you have complete pornography. Terrible. But that will imprint in your mind. So does it say that you must do it? This thing is, you are exposed. So naturally, your inner speech is exposed to the environment. The environment itself make it difficult for you to have good thoughts. This is happening. Okay, materialism, the need to have a big car, a big house, a big everything, is being portrayed through advertisement, day in, day out, day out. You cannot escape it. The idea of conflict and killing, every day you are facing it. You cannot escape it. The idea of nakedness is every day there. It's out there in the open. So how do you protect your iman? How do you protect the precious inner speech that Allah has given you? Is for us to understand that if we have an evil thought, we don't manifest the evil thought, and we ask for Allah's guidance. We then slowly develop this idea of having positive inner speech. And this is where the beauty of positive Islamic psychology. So we have this whole book telling you about the model and how to go about with it. Inshallah, you read this book, and then as we develop cognitive Islamic, positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, the whole framework, inshallah, you'll understand this beauty and this completeness of existence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us as Muslims, for us to carry this torch of truth to all our brothers, sisters, the Muslims, and to all humanity, so that they will not be psychologically confused, so that they will not have anxiety, so that they do not have depression, because everything will fall within the will of Allah. And what we need to do is to strive to make a difference in our life, so that we can, inshallah, develop good thoughts, good inner speech, good spiritual, emotional, and mental, physical self, and then we receive the joy, the peace, the tranquility, the fullness of iman that Allah guarantees, because that is our purpose and meaning in life, inshallah.